Greetings, greetings, all. I am so unbelievably blessed and happy to welcome you into our new sacred temple um, that we are going to use to house Sky Dancer, our gorgeous offering on the Venus path. And what you may have noticed when you came into the temple space was that it's called the overarching space is called Bishops of Sophia. And if you're really tuned in, you might have actually noticed that for the last several years, this has also been my email address. And creating this temple space has been a years and years and years long dream. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why I chose the words Bishops of Sophia as a kind of like anointing and container to hold my work, why I chose those words. And so I'll tell you, I got them from a book called The Magdalene Mysteries, and it's by Saren and Azra Bertrand. And as I was reading through the book, I was lit up and inspired by a passage inside of it. And I always pay attention to when I'm reading or moving through the world and something lights me up and inspires me. So it says, Bishops of Sophia, female spiritual leaders. And here's a passage from something called the Pistis Sophia, which is a Gnostic gospel. Because of this, I have said to you before, where I shall be, there also shall be my 12 ministers. But Mary Magdalene and John the Virgin will tower over all of my disciples and over all the elect who shall receive the mysteries of the ineffable. And they will be on my right and my left, and I am they, and they are I. And so she's speaking to this idea of there being a council, right? Not just one leader, but many bishops. So one of the reasons, Saren goes on to say, that many modern women and men are turning away from organized religions is the disturbing exclusion of women and sex, where female spiritual leadership is largely forbidden, and sex is demeaned as dirty and sinful. We all long for a deeply sacred path and communion with the spiritual essence of life, the Christ force, if you will, or I like to think of it as the Sophia force. Yet instinctively we know that experiencing this communion of oneness cannot happen while we are separated and shamed. There is a knowing that our sacred sexuality is beautiful and a powerful doorway of union, and that spiritual equality between men and women is the way forward. And so, one of the things that I really love about this name is the fact that for centuries, only men were bishops. And it's only been like in some of the like Anglican and a few other denominations have now broadened the definition of bishop to include women. But for the most part, bishop is a man. And Sophia, of course, is the feminine essence or the feminine Shekinah, in a sense, inside of our religious traditions. And what I love is how much reclamation is inside of these words. Like there is the essence of the inner sacred marriage, like when we're reclaiming the word bishop for our own and pairing that with Sophia. There's a reclaiming of the feminine principle of the Gospels that has been shunned for 2,000 years. There's a reclamation of sacred sexuality and a really beautiful feminine spiritual path that is overlit by Venus. And all of these priestesses and goddesses that are of the red or rose line, beginning with Inanna and following that line through to modern day Mary Magdalene, these are all daughters of Venus. They are all women who walked the Venus path. And there's one more little piece of writing here. She says, original Christianity was a woman's religion. Pagan writers such as Celsus, writing in the late 2nd century, scoffed at Christianity for being a religion of women and claimed that the resurrection itself had been based on nothing more than the reports of hysterical women. Celsus suggests that perhaps they were deluded by sorcery. And sorry. Previously, in Jewish traditions, women could only be disciples if their husband was a rabbi, but with Jesus, men and women could both be disciples. And for the first 30 years after his death, priestesses of the new faith still administered rites. And I want to say this. So when they mentioned the resurrection here, Venus's path, and you will see this as you begin to journey with her, is the original template of the death resurrection, right? So the birth, death, life template is embedded in the Venus story. And so she is the one who gave these really sacred mysteries to the Christian tradition, right? And so there is this very deep correlation between Jesus and Christian mysticism, like the Gnostic Christian sects, and Venus. And you can see in the Bible that it talks about Jesus being the morning star. And that's also Venus. Or this relationship with this idea of Lucifer, or the right hand of God. And that's when Venus is, making her appearance close to the sun. So anyways, there's all these really beautiful astrotheology kind of nods that we can look at some point. However, I do want to say that this is not a program that's based on Christianity. This is just where I got the name Bishops of Sophia from, and this like really beautiful idea about women leadership, and that and the idea of the round table, and that really spoke to me. In my gene keys, my strongest gene key, like my life drive or I'll have to go back and look. I don't study the gene keys anywhere nearly like I know astrology, but mine is synarchy. And that idea is very important to me, very, very important to me. And so in creating this space and creating this course, like I may be the one offering the medicine per se, but my hope is that especially with this new platform and what this etheric temple will offer us, that everybody is feeling encouraged to bring their medicine forward and bring their whole selves forward, and that this feels like a high council space, not like a hierarchical course. And so that's why I was so inspired to call, by the vision of this temple that I was someday going to birth. I've been holding this vision for years. I was inspired by this idea of like having a council, or Jesus had disciples, this idea of having other spiritual adherents walking on a spiritual path and doing that together, and really evoking our own leadership inside of the curriculum, right? So you will see, I think that you will naturally rise in your own embodiment, your own authenticity, and thus that always helps to distill and disperse the medicine we have inside of us. I have yet to find there is a participant that walks this path with me who is not an actual medicine woman. Like, people do not get called by Venus. I call us daughters of Venus, right? Her daughters are called to this path specifically because they have medicine to offer the world, and they do it from an orientation of service and love. Like that is always the inspiration. Like, not because there's a gut behind it, not because the ego wants to look a certain way, but because there is this deeply instilled current of service that is intertwined, cannot be separated, the service and the love piece. And so we are all here walking this path together, while also refining our own gifts as priestesses and medicine women. So I just wanted to say that piece up front. So now the second thing I wanted to do is just kind of look at Mighty Networks with you so that you get an idea of what the temple space is. So I'm going to share my screen really quick, and we may look at this from two angles. One is from your angle, and two is from an angle of somebody who's already signed in. So knowing that this introduction is for people who are just coming on to Mighty Networks for the first time. So this is the landing screen, the thing that you will see when you first sign in. I've previously signed in, and this is what it looks like from a non-host's perspective. And so it doesn't look like it's very full of anything. You'll see that you've automatically been added to this space called Temple Commons. That's something that we can talk about later. It's not super involved with Sky Dancer. It will become something else down the road. So you have access to the sanctuary, and the sanctuary is where you land. It's where every container inside of Bishops of Sophia, the temple space, it's where all of those different containers will feed into one central theme for you. And I know that sounds confusing. So if you only join Sky Dancer, which is what you're going to do at the beginning, you're only going to see Sky Dancer stuff inside of the sanctuary. In a few weeks, once we're really up and running with Sky Dancer, there are a few other containers that I'd like to open. The first one is called the Pythia. That has to do with the oracles at Delphi. And the Pythia is where we will move our planetary priestess free online community. The second container that I'm going to open up a little bit further down the road is going to be called Altar. And Altar is going to become a paid practice space for people who are interested in creating art, creating beauty, creating programs, have medicine to share with the world, but aren't quite at the place where they're ready to release it. And so what I had really longed for in my journey was a place to practice, a place to come out a little bit and be seen, but also to be held in a safe container while doing that. And so the feed inside of that container becomes our altar where we lay our sacred offerings down. And so if you're somebody down the road who is, a tarot card reader or a sound medicine woman, or who would like to teach a class about plant medicines, or who sings, or who writes. We've got some really beautiful writers in the last round of Sky Dancer, and would just kind of like to get an opportunity to practice. That's what Altar will be. So my point is, everyone who joins, if you join only Sky Dancer, you will only ever see Sky Dancer information in this sanctuary page. If you join Sky Dancer and the Pythia, then you'll get both Sky Dancer and the Pythia information in this page. If you join all three, then you'll get all three of these in this feed. Now, not to worry, because you might be thinking, you might be thinking, how do I just get the curriculum inside of Sky Dancer? And I'll show you that in a minute. So what I wanted to also show you was from a participant standpoint. Once you're inside of Sky Dancer, you're going to click this button and it will take you over here and allow you to choose a plan. And this is how you get to the course materials, is through this gateway of paying. I want to make it very clear that once you purchase Sky Dancer, you are agreeing to have the 9 months of $111 be drafted from your account. There are some people who continuously journey with Sky Dancer, and so we end that 9 months after the 9 payments has been complete for people who request it. We will not end it before the 9 months. This is an agreement that you're making. However, if after the 9 months you feel complete here, we will wish you well on your journey and you can move on. But if you want to stay in Sky Dancer and go through all of the deep underworld initiations that will happen after this round of Sky Dancer closes, and then travel the evening star side, You do not need to do anything. Your membership will just continue on. You would from this space be able to you should be able to preview some of the material that I put out without having to pay. You should be able to preview some of the material I put out prior to Skydancer as part of the promotional period. But in order to get to the course material here, you do have to pay because these are beyond a gate. So what you'll do is you'll scroll down, you'll come to Bishops of Sophia, and then you will hit the 111 a month and then enter your credit card information. So that is that. Now, what I want to show you is some things inside beyond the gates, and those are on my own personal screen here. So here we go. Nice. All right. So now we are inside the Skydancer portal, right? And you will see here that there is a course community. So this is what I mean. Like, you do not need to be on that main feed, the sanctuary, in order to access Skydancer stuff. You can just go into Skydancer and exclusively cut out all of the other containers you're in and just interact with Skydancer participants. So I wrote this the other day because it's an important component to Skydancer. So when coming in, you will be given a moniker or a title. And originally that title was set to member. And for me, I wanted to change it to Oracle. And for those who have been through Skydancer before, they will understand that oracular gnosis is a large thread inside of what we study, and it will be laid out in great detail in the throat chakra section. So after we go through the crown and the crown and the third eye, when we get to the throat chakra, we'll really have a deep lesson between what the kind of wounded oracle and the prophetess are. And we are here working on our oracular gnosis. How do we know things that we know for sure? And so I'd love for you to drop in with this piece of writing about why I've called it an oracle and what that might mean before getting the lesson. I love to allow people to drop into inquiry around things before telling them, you know, so it's like where they get the experiential gnosis versus me telling them why I've done something. But it's to keep an eye on that frequency of oracle and how we are moving and sharing within the space. And I'll talk more about that at a later time. So then the next thing you'll have is course materials. And this is where all of your course materials are housed. The first gateway opens on September 11th, and at that point, you'll be able to access all of our crown chakra links and materials for this next session, or for this first month, sorry. In the meantime, prior to that gateway being opened, you will have the capacity now to open all of these modules, which will take us, some of these will take us onto my website, but you'll have the opportunity to open all of these modules now, and these are welcome resources. These welcome resources help ground you both into the space, and they help you ground into the Venus material. They don't want to create any compression or any scarcity around time. There are a few that I think would be really helpful to drop in with. If you did not come to or have not watched the replay of the All About Venus and Leo cycle, this would be a good one to definitely hit before our first module opens. The calendar of the Venus moon gateways is another one. It's just got like the dates of all of the gateways in it. So it might be good to look at that one. And then understanding interplanetary gnosis is about the chakras. The gateway dates are on there, kind of like how we work with the Venus cycle. And so that might also be another good one. The rest of these are all really nice. So if you have the time and the space and you want to drop in with them, please feel free. If you don't have the opportunity to do so, don't worry about it. We will, these will be available our entire journey, and there will be time for you to drop in with them later. Or if you don't feel the call to drop in with them, don't worry about it. So that is the course materials. So the next is, so we did the course community. That's where all of our sharing and digestion posts will go. Look at how beautiful this temple space is laid out. Course materials are here for you. The events. Every time we're going to have, either I'm planning to talk live just into the space, there will, and I'm inviting you to be there. There will be an event. And then anytime our group meetings are available, or upcoming, the event will be here. What's really nice is when you create an event, it allows you to see if we can create an event for tomorrow. It allows you to RSVP. So once it's posted, you can put whether or not you plan on going, which is great. I'm gonna delete it, but I just wanted you to be able to see that. Okay. Yes, I want to delete the event. I don't know what's going on here. I'll delete it later. Sorry. I don't want to take up too much time. Then there's a discovery button, which will again help you kind of find members, new containers or offerings, or help you see new posts. There's a featured section. So if I've got something that I would like to feature, like I want to make sure you see it, I'll put it in the featured section. All in all, it is just such a gorgeous space, and I cannot wait for you guys to begin to trickle in here and introduce yourself and fill up these spaces. In the next few days, I am going to, or in the next day or so, today, unfortunately, it's such a weird day today. I am thrilled, I mean, beyond thrilled to be birthing this years-long dream. And at the same time, our cat is very ill, and she is probably going to leave the earth plane today. So I am trying not to bog myself down with administrative tasks so that I can spend time with her and be with her, or be with him as he travels. And at the same time, I need to get up a poll about best meeting times. And so please look for that as you've now come in and populated the space. If you don't see it right away, I will make it a feature post. So if you don't see it right away, it just means I haven't gotten to it yet. I'll make an announcement once I've made it. And yeah, I feel like that's all I wanted to share right now. I didn't want to make this a video that dragged on. I wanted it to be very practical. Feel free to watch it again if you like. Know that I am so pleased you're here, and I cannot wait to start. All right, loves.